So welcome back for part 2 of this entire Xbox 360 collection. Going to do it exactly the same as the first episode of the 2 where I show you 10 games at a time. So here we go, kicking it off strong with Just Cause 2. And then Cameo. Cameo is a game that I used to really love back in the early days of the Xbox 360 sort of thing. I believe this was one of the launch titles, and this is sort of before Rare became sort of only about Sea of Thieves. Or that's how they seem to me nowadays anyway. So, Kane and Lynch Dead Men. I believe I've got Kane and Lynch, I think it's called Dog Days, on the PlayStation 3, which I think is also the limited edition version. So, so I didn't double dip on that. Killer is Dead. Awesome game. Suda51 game. So, yeah. Definitely check that out if you've not seen it. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. I'll be totally honest, not played that one. And LA Noire, and that's a game that I've certainly played. So that's, I believe, my original copy from sort of back in the day. And yeah, me and my sensible adult, we played through a lot of LA Noire. I don't think we fully completed it, but I think we sort of 80% of the way through. Will we go back to it? I'd like to think maybe in the future we'll have a second dip in it. So. Last Remnant, I played a little bit of it and I can't remember it. It was a few years back, I believe. Left 4 Dead 2, don't need to say much about that. You know that's a banger, so yeah. And then a couple of Lego games at the end. I don't normally keep many Lego games in my collection because I find I kind of play them, sort of get through them and then sort of move them on and then get another couple. Not started Jurassic World yet. And Marvel Superheroes, I think we're probably about halfway through. I'm not totally sure. But yeah, we're a little way into it. And just noticed, that's actually like a reprinted cover. Prior to YouTube, I picked up, I think it was about 6 or 7 games at 50p each, and it was disc only. And one of the other games was Fight Night Champion, but I completely forgot to mention that in the last video. So yeah. So when they've got reprinted covers, obviously they can't leave the collection sort of thing. So those games will sort of be stuck with me. But I'll be totally honest, the games I picked up were games that you wouldn't mind being too stuck with anyway, sort of thing. So a nice problem to have that I've touched on in the past, that's Lightning Returns Steelbook and Lightning Returns, that's sealed basically. So they'll probably both stay in my collection for a while. I may get rid of one of them, I'm not totally sure. Then Lollipop Chainsaw, absolutely amazing game, totally love it. Suda51 again, yeah, it just makes brilliant games, really sort of fun games, as games should be. Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2. I've only played like a little tiny bit of it, and to be totally honest, it needs a bit more time than I gave it. So that will be getting a proper outing when I've got a weekend spare sort of thing, and I think I'll really enjoy that. Lost. I know a lot of people didn't like Lost. I actually really enjoyed it, and to be honest, I will probably play through it again at some point in the future. Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey is absolutely amazing. Huge, epic, massive RPG. 4 disc as well, great big heavy box. Yeah, brilliant game. If you've got a 360 and you haven't played Lost Odyssey, definitely give it a look. And then Lost Planet, that's a steelbook. Now I've got a funny feeling that should have a slipcover, but I think I paid like £1 for it at a car boot, so yeah. Magna Carta 2, that's another decent RPG. Probably not the best on the system, but still a sort of really competent RPG. Really pleased to get that. I think... I can't remember. I think I bought that from CEX when it was like a lot cheaper than it is now. So, yeah. Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that's a fighting game, as you guys know. And then Mass Effect 2 at the end. That's actually the only Mass Effect game that I've kept in the Xbox 360 collection, because to be totally honest, that's the only Mass Effect game that I really like. So here we have a sealed copy of Max Payne 3. You guys may notice that I've got the Max Payne 3 statue behind me on the shelf behind me. The statue didn't actually come with the game. I already had the game sort of sealed prior to getting the statue. The statue came from a car boot last year. Some of you may remember that, some of you may not. Yes. Then moving on, Mercenaries 2, which I think I've only played about 10 minutes of. Seemed a decent game though, so that's one that I definitely need to get back to. So it's nice laying them out like this to actually see some of the covers and think, yes, I need to play that again. Metal Gear Rising, that's sealed as well, so I've never played that. Then the Metro games, 2 more games I haven't played, so that's basically a great big row of games that I haven't played much of. Midnight Club Los Angeles Complete Edition, I love a bit of racing, so yeah, that's sort of right up my street. Minecraft Story Mode, yeah. I like the Telltale games, and I like Minecraft, so that's kind of a win-win in my book. And then Mirror's Edge. I've never been totally sure on Mirror's Edge. It's always sort of, I get the sort of feeling to play it now and again, but I play it and I'm always left a little bit underwhelmed by it. So I don't know. Yeah. And Monster Madness, so that's one that I was so pleased to get during Mission 360. And to be honest, I've played it a couple of times. I don't really gel with it, so I'm not totally 100% sure on that. But yeah, I'm going to give it another go before I decide whether to move it on or not. And Morphex, kind of the same in a way. There's something about Morphex though that's kind of charming. I don't know. It's clunky, but it's kind of, I don't know. It's oddly playable, but still a bit clunky. So starting off this row, you might notice that's another funky sleeve. That's another disc that I paid 50p for. And then moving on, I've got Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm Full Burst 3. That is quite a mouthful. Yeah. National Geographic Quiz Wildlife. That's a game that we bought about 10 years ago with the intention of playing. We quite like the old quiz game, and we've never got around to playing it. So at some point, that will get played, and we will laugh at our complete lack of knowledge to do with anything to do with wildlife. So there you go. Naughty Bear. Excellent. That's a bit like sort of the naughty sensible adult, I guess. But yeah. And NBA Street Home Court. So that's when EA used to do the big games, which were sort of a little bit more out there in the sort of sports title sort of thing. So decided to keep that. I quite like a little bit of the old NBA Jam sort of thing. And yeah, Street Home Court I thought was pretty good. And then I've got a big row of Need for Speed. And I do have a lot of Need for Speeds on the other consoles, but on this is all the Need for Speeds that I've decided to keep. I kept Carbon, I've kept Hot Pursuit, I've kept Shift, Shift 2, and the Run. Shift is my favourite. That is my favourite Need for Speed ever. But I do have some Need for Speeds on the other systems as well. Kicking off this row, we've got Never Dead, and that was an awesome day when I picked Never Dead up because it was technically a day trip to Skegness, and I came back with Never Dead, Grey Matter, and Killer is Dead, I think it was, and I think they cost me a total of about 12 quid, so I was like, yep, that's banging. I think all three of those have gone up a little bit in price since then. Nier, awesome game, absolutely awesome game. Ninja Blade, From Software title. That was one of the ones that was, I think it may have been our first CEX roulette on the channel. I'm not totally sure. It was a long time ago, like last year sometime. That was part of Mission 360 when I actually started it on YouTube. So yeah, there you go. 99 Nights. I liked it, but I'll be totally honest, I didn't like it enough to want to buy the second. So I played the second. A friend of mine actually had it, and I kind of preferred the first anyway. So I've just stuck with having the first, and that's sort of enough for me on that. Ninja Gaiden 2, I think was 50p at a car boot, and I haven't played it yet. And then looking down here, Oblivion, a game that should be in everybody's collection, an absolute classic. And it even says classics, there you go. Yes, and then Obert Petanque 2. Now, this is the only Kinect game that I'm keeping in my collection, and that's because this was a present from the Sensible Adult to me a while back. And I don't really like the Kinect, to be honest, but if I'm ever going to play anything on the Kinect, it would be this, because that's my only Kinect game. And ages ago, this used to be like a really sort of hard to find and quite expensive game, and then thousands and thousands of them turned up in Europe, and it's cheap as chips now, I think. And exactly the same happened with Snipers. I don't know if you guys remember that, the game... mainly online, I think it was, sort of sniping game, just called Snipers on 360, and you can literally buy boxes of that now, and everyone's still like, oh, that's a rare game. It's like it was never rare. There's thousands of them out there, people. So yeah, there you go. So don't get caught up in all that sort of hype. Omerta, City of Gangsters, that's a pretty decent game, which I need to go back and finish, but I think you're hearing that quite a lot. And Operation Flashpoint, Dragon Rising, I don't think I've played that. And then the Orange Box at the end. The Orange Box is amazing. So, yeah, just simply for Portal, to be honest. I love the Portal games, but yeah, all the Valve games, just brilliant. Half-Life 2, awesome, awesome, awesome. So Overg Fighters, that's one that I picked up from Retromania fairly recently. Needs a little bit of a clean. I don't know how I've managed to put it into the collection without cleaning it, but I will sort that shortly after this video. Overlord, I love the Overlord games. You get to control little sort of goblin-y type things that vaguely resemble the Sensible Adult, and get them to do your dirty work for you. So there you go. Project Dark Zero, Steelbook, yeah, love me a bit of Steelbook. And then Pac-Man, Ghostly Adventures 1 and 2. Brilliant, both games. Yeah, love them very much. Payday 2, absolute sort of banger, to be honest. So I haven't played it for a while though. Haven't played it for a while. And then Persona 4 Arena and Arena Ultimax. Absolutely love these. I've only kept Arena because it's got the CD in it. So if you look, it's got the soundtrack in it. Because to be totally honest, there's very little point in having Arena if you've got Arena Ultimax, because that is basically like the sort of the better version of that sort of thing. Like if you imagine sort of Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal, that's like Persona 5, that's like Persona 5 Royal. Or Persona 4 and Persona 4 Golden. You get the idea. And then Phantasy Star Universe, a game that I've not played for about a decade. So yeah. And Port Royale 3, don't see a lot of sort of strategy games on console, but I absolutely love the Port Royale games. I think I've got Port Royale 3 Gold Edition, I think it's called, on the PS3, but I decided to keep that. That's one that I've actually had since new, and yeah, absolutely love it. Portal 2 is probably one of my top 20 games of all time. Yeah, absolutely fantastic game by Valve. Prey, another game that they remastered or remade recently, a few years ago now, I guess. Pro Evolution 2013. I don't know why, I just really like 2013. Yeah, I think it was a good PES, so yeah, I don't know, make of that what you will. Shame about the cover. Anyway, Project Gotham Racing 4. I did have 3 as well, but I got rid of 3 shortly after getting 4 because I preferred 4 to it. Maybe I should have picked 3 back up, I'm not totally sure. Maybe that's one that I've actually missed. Project Sylphid, that's a really sort of decent game. Yep, as you may have seen a while ago, that was technically brand new, and I opened it to see whether it was real because I had a couple of sort of questions about it, sort of thing. And the other one got traded in CEX. Prototype 2, that's in a baggie because it's got a lovely slipcover on. It's like an embossed slipcover. I don't know if you guys can make that out on the camera. So it's proper shiny as well. So, but yeah, that's just a lovely slipcover. So, yep. And decent game as well, actually. So yeah, not just a good slipcover. Race Pro, haven't played it yet, I don't think. So I don't think I did anyway. But yes, that's one that I need to get into because I love my racing games. Rage was pretty good, I thought. I think that's one that sort of got a little bit missed by a lot of people. But yeah, I think if you sort of like want a sort of Mad Maxi type feeling game, then I think Rage could well be it. And then on the end, we've got another one of my sealed promotional copies, which is Rayman Origins. Here's a game that needs no introduction whatsoever, Red Dead Redemption. Followed by Red Faction Armageddon, which I've never played, and Red Faction Guerrilla, which I played and really liked. Then we move into Resident Evil. We've got a standard copy of 5. 6 is a nice steelbook, and that's actually really nice condition, to be honest. And then I rebought a copy of Raccoon City. I'm not too keen on Raccoon City. I think it's one of the worst Resident Evil games, to be honest, but I kind of still want to go through it again at some point, so I figured picking a copy up's probably not the worst thing to do. Then we move on to Resonance of Fate, which is another sealed promo game. This I bought on eBay sort of towards the end of Mission 360. I'm not sure exactly which episode right now. Ride to Hell Retribution. That is probably the worst game that I have in this whole collection, but it's sort of so bad it's kind of funny. Yeah, I sort of enjoy it in a sort of strange way, a sort of masochistic way. Now and again I will play an hour of it, and it is dreadful. It is terribly written. It's just everything about it. It's just absolute garbage, but it's funny garbage. I don't know, I kind of want to keep. A little bit like I collect the Phoenix games. It's that sort of level of badness, I think, so never mind. Ridge Racer 6, that's got a funky cover. That was a 50p disc again. Yeah, really like that. It's a really decent Ridge Racer. But I think I prefer Unbounded. Unbounded is a really awesome Ridge Racer, and yeah, mad pleased when I picked that up because, yeah, I've really enjoyed all of that I've played. And starting off here, we've got the 2 Rocksmith games, because who doesn't want to mosh out in their games room with a Jackson Kelly to Deftones? Moving on, Rumble Roses XX, which isn't quite as bad as the original, but still isn't really a very good fighting game. Ruse, a game that I played about 10 years ago for about an hour and I quite enjoyed and sadly never got back to. And then Saboteur, a game that I was massively happy to be grabbing a copy of, and again I've not got around to playing it, so that is one that's definitely going to get played in the future. And Saints Row the Third and Saints Row 4, that's probably my favourite two out of the ones on the 360. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but there you go. And two scenic games. We've got a box office smash and Lights Camera Action. And Lights Camera Action I paid 50p for, but it's in a bit of a weird case. I think this is the case that's meant to come with the buzzers. It's like a little thin case, if you can see. It doesn't say Xbox 360 on it, but it is the Xbox 360 game, so yeah. Yeah, and that sort of predates me sort of collecting for the Xbox. So back then I wasn't really that worried about that sort of thing. I would prefer it now to have had a proper case, but for 50p back in the day, I kind of just wanted something that me and the sensible adult could have a little bit of a laugh with in the evening. So there you go. And then finishing it off, Scream Ride. Who doesn't want to build a roller coaster and then crash it? Excellent game. Really, really enjoy that. So yeah, there you go. And kicking off this row, the Mega Drive Ultimate Collection. Proper retro, proper awesome. And then Sega Superstars Tennis. Yeah, like a little bit of that. That's kind of fun now and again for sort of half hour. And then we've got Silent Hill Downpour. Now, I did have Homecoming, I think it was, and I thought it was absolutely rubbish and got rid of it. Downpour is a little bit better, but not a lot. I'll be totally honest, I don't think I've made a decent Silent Hill game, with the exception of the remakes and stuff, since the PlayStation 2, since the 6th generation. I think my favourite Silent Hill is probably Silent Hill 2, and then probably 1, then 3 would be my order of how I like my Silent Hill. Downpour isn't very good in my opinion, but I'm sure a lot of you out there like it. If you enjoy it, that's awesome. The Sims 3. I've had loads of copies of that. That used to sort of come and go in and out of the collection loads. I've played it a few times. I quite like it. I figured I may as well keep it sort of for old time's sake, if you like. And then Singularity, that's meant to be absolutely awesome, and I still haven't played it. So I may actually give that a whirl later after this video. Skate 3, I quite liked Skate 3 when I originally played it, and I think this is actually my original copy from sort of buying it new. And I went back to it a few months back. I can't get used to the controls now, so I don't know what's happened there. Something sort of flipped in my brain. I don't know whether I've played too much Tony Hawk's or something, but I could not do it. But yeah, I will definitely be going back to that and giving that another go as well, because I remember really enjoying it. So I don't know, that's a me problem, I guess. And then I've got my original Skyrim there. As you can see, that came from Game Station. Remember Game Station? Yes. And then I've got the Legendary Edition, which is in a nice slipcover. So that one's sort of just being kept for sort of prosperity, whereas that's the one that I sort of place. It's got all the sort of Dawnguard, Hearthfire, and Dragonborn on it, so which is awesome. And then a little bit of Skylanders. That's probably frowned upon by you guys. I don't know, but I like my Skylanders. I thought I had Spyro's Adventure, I think it's called as well, but I don't know what's happened to that. I imagine the Gremlins may have eaten it. But that's the only two that I could find. So, because I keep those separately from the main collection in with like a box where I keep all the Skylanders. And yeah, I've got it on the PS3, so maybe I'm just getting mixed up what I had it on. Sleeping Dogs, absolutely belting game, set in Hong Kong, bit sort of GTA Mafia like. Yeah, if you've not heard of it, check it out, brilliant game. Soul Calibur 4 and 5, love a bit of Soul Calibur. And South Park, love a bit of South Park when I'm in the mood. I will say that as the caveat on that. Yes, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. To be totally honest, to me, that's kind of the best of a bad bunch. Not a bad game, but I just preferred other Spider-Man games. I've had most of the Spider-Man games on the 360, and that's the only one that I've actually decided to keep. Moving on, Splinter Cell Blacklist. You might notice I've got the Splinter Cell Blacklist Special Edition, like the statue and stuff behind me where I normally film. So that's this one here. That's a sealed promotional copy again. Yeah, there you go. But I've got the statue with the game in it as well in there. So. Split Second Velocity, that's a really awesome game. That is a really brilliant sort of destructive racer sort of thing. The whole sort of scenery changes around you. It's really kind of epic. And yeah, if you've not played it and you sort of like your combat racing and stuff, Split Second Velocity, yeah, you can't go too far wrong with that. Brilliant game. It's really cheap as well. SSX, you guys know what SSX is. Star Ocean and The Last Hope, which for some weird reason I haven't cleaned properly, so that needs a bit of a going over. Really long Square Enix JRPG. I quite like Star Ocean games, so yeah, not bad. And then I've got Star Trek over there, which is also, is that sealed? I think that's sealed because I've never played it. Yeah, that's new factory sealed. Yeah, I've never played it. I'll be totally honest, I'm not a Trekkie, so I think most of that will probably be lost on me if I did ever open it, so that may well just stay sealed, to be honest. Stormrise, game I paid £1 for. I've not played it yet, looking forward to giving it a go though. Street Fighter X Tekken, or Cross Tekken or whatever. Fighting game, you know I love my fighting games, and that's not actually a bad one. Pleased to have that in the collection. Stuntman Ignition, a little bit torn on that, to be honest. I've given it a couple of goes and I'm not sure how I feel about it, so I'm going to give it another chance and see what I feel. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of Stuntman Ignition? Is it any good, or am I just sort of flogging a dead horse? Superstars V8 Racing, because I love my driving games and they sort of offer sort of bit of track racing, feels a little bit different to some of the other games, sort of sim-like in a way, I guess. I quite like them. Super Street Fighter 4, another fighting game, another decent fighting game as well. And then Supreme Commander, because there's just not enough RTS games on console, in my opinion. So, although some of you might say there are too many. Table tennis. Heard it's really good. It's by Rockstar. I've never played it, although I keep meaning to. Tales of Vesperia. I think that's the only Tales of game on the Xbox 360 in this region anyway. And yeah, it's such a shame because the PS3 got such a huge amount of Tales games. Then another decent fighting game in Tekken 6. Yeah, like the Tekken games. Terraria, which is sort of, in a way, a little bit 2D Minecrafty, I guess. Yeah, I've not played that for quite a while, to be honest, but yeah, I used to quite like it maybe a decade or so back, so I'm sure that'll get played again at some point. Test Drive Unlimited, yeah, quite like Test Drive Unlimited, kind of fun. Another driving game, obviously. Thrillville Off the Rails, now that's sort of the sideshowy one. Yeah, it's alright. It's alright for a change in pace, it's quite sort of fun to just sit down with for half an hour. Tomb Raider, that's the survival edition. That's got like a little pouch and an art book and stuff in it. That's actually one of my favourite Tomb Raider games, to be honest. I really, really like that one. So yeah, mad pleased to have got that and bought it ages and ages and ages ago. So yeah, probably paid way too much for it at the time as well. Too Human there with CEX sticker on it, which should not be on it, but hey ho, that will get fixed at some point later. Transformers Dark of the Moon. I'm not a big Transformers fan, to be totally honest, so I wasn't really that bothered about having the Transformers game. And then I've got Revenge of the Fallen, which showed up in the charity shop, which I think I left the other disc. Yes, I did. Which has got the Fall of Cybertron disc in it as well, so which I thought was pretty cool. So I've not played either of those yet, because I only actually got them like a few weeks ago, I guess it was. And then finishing it off with a bit of Tropico 3 and 4. And you can see on Tropico 4 where I used to buy all my games from. So we've got Turok, which is a game that I purchased fairly recently in a charity shop. And then moving on, we've got the 3 U-Draw games. I believe there are only 3 U-Draw games, and they're the ones that need that weird sort of tablet with a sort of pen thing attached to it. To work, and the only one that I actually play is Instant Artist. I bought Pictionary and Marvel Superhero Squad shortly after getting the tablet, which came with the Instant Artist as a pack-in, and I've never really gone back to it, to be honest, but I do intend to go back to it and actually give them a little bit of a go, because it's something a little bit different. I don't mind my sort of gimmicky stuff like that, so yeah, there you go. And then at the far end, you've got Under Defeat, released by Rising Star Games. Then moving on to Vanquish, a game that I picked up fairly recently. Haven't actually had a chance to play it yet, so that's sort of in my backlog. And then Venetica, and I was so pleased when I got the copy of that. It holds up. It's a really decent game. Aside from the voice acting, it's just really good fun. It kind of feels like a RPG from sort of like the PC sort of 10 or 20 years back, I guess. But I don't know, there's something about it. I just kind of vibes with me. So yeah, mad pleased to actually have that in the collection. Virtual Fighter 5, probably not one of the best fighting games on the system, to be honest, but that was a game I think I actually got when I got my original sort of white Xbox, the one that red ringed sort of thing. I don't know, I quite like it. It's a little bit different to some of the other fighting games that I've got, so that sort of survived the cull. And then Virtual Tennis 3, I kind of think in a way that tennis games are sort of almost an evolution of like the old sort of Pong games in a way. I don't know, I quite like having a tennis game around now and again. So they're sort of timeless, sort of, you know, if that sort of makes sense. And then finally at the end, we've got Viva Pinata, which is the weird sort of shaped case with all the awesome bits, and I think it may have a soundtrack in it. I'll have a look. I will open it and put a picture of it on the screen so you can see what it is. And just while we're doing that one, because we're going to have a couple of odd games at the end, we've also got Viva Pinata, Trouble in Paradise. Getting towards the end now, and we've got Wanted Weapons of Fate, which was part of Mission 360. I've not actually managed to play this yet. I've not found the time. And War Tech. I played a little bit of it, and to be totally honest, I wasn't too sure what I was doing, and I played it really badly. So I need to go back to that and experience it again. It's kind of a bit sort of like a shootery, fightery type thing. Which was quite interesting. But I definitely need to give it another go and sort of before I can really sort of cast judgment. Williams Pinball Classics. You see that all over the place back in the day. I don't see that very often at all now, so don't really know what's happened there. So, pinball. I quite like pinball. Doesn't work quite as well on the computer sort of thing, but it's all right. It's still playable for an hour now and again. Wolfenstein: The New Order. That's actually sealed inside, so haven't actually played that. I've got most of the other Wolfenstein games on other systems. WWE All Stars. Bought that in a charity shop somewhere at some point, I think, and I played a little bit of it. It's WWE, I guess. Not really that big into WWE, but I know a lot of you guys are out there, so yeah. And then Xbox Arcade Unplugged and Xbox Live Arcade. Now, that is the game that they were supposed to send me when they sent me this when I ordered online back in the day when all the postage used to be sort of like combined and stuff. And I didn't argue because that had Pac-Man on it, and I was like, yeah, like a bit of Pac-Man. And then I just sort of bumped into this one. I thought, oh, that's the one that I was supposed to have. So yeah, got both of those now, so really pleased with that. And then the two XCOM games, Enemy Unknown and Enemy Within. We had the Bureau earlier in the last episode as well. Yeah, which isn't really quite the same as these. These are awesome games. So yeah, definitely if you've not tried any of the proper XCOM games, definitely give these a go. And then Zone of the Enders right at the end. That's a Hideo Kojima game. Absolutely brilliant. Mad pleased to get that. And that was the last game that we ticked off of I almost said Xbox. And that was the last game that we ticked off Mission 360, I believe. And there we are. Seems like a nice way to finish off. Yeah, so there we are. That's my entire Xbox 360 collection over the 2 episodes. I've absolutely loved collecting for the Xbox 360 over what's probably the last decade or so. And Mission 360 for me has been sort of 3 or 4 year sort of thing. To you guys, I guess you've only really sort of seen the last sort of 6 or 8 months of it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here at the end of it, and thank you for all the support and all the kind comments. It really, really does mean the world to me. So yeah, please like and sub and do all that awesome stuff as well, because that also means the world to me. So yeah, hoping to keep getting the channel to grow. And we're moving on now. We've got Collectbox, which is the original Xbox that I'm starting to collect for up there. I always sort of try and collect for stuff that maybe people aren't, that there's not a lot of buzz for sort of thing. The end of the 360 in a way sort of caught me out, but I was expecting it. I was hoping it was going to be sort of after I'd sort of finished my collection off. But yeah, you know how things happen. So I'm hoping that Collectbox goes really smoothly, and yeah, and we get to finish that this next year. Fingers crossed. So anyway, you guys are absolutely awesome. I've been Soup, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.